Welcome to Frankly Speaking with me on Khopotse JJ Tabani Dumelang, and we come to you live from SABC here in the Auckland Park in Johannesburg. What a dramatic week we have had. The Commission of Inquiry into State Capture is shining the spotlight on corruption at the highest levels of our country. One hopes that this commission, unlike others we have seen, will not be a whitewash, but will result in harsh consequences for those found guilty of flouting the law. While this was going on, the Minister of Telecommunications fired the entire board of the Universal Services Agency of South Africa. This following a damning report by the Public Protector about how that board tried to hurriedly dismiss its CEO, Lumko Mtinde, in an action that the Public Protector has now declared illegal. The agency has a crucial task of extending digital services to the majority of South Africans. For years now, South Africa has missed numerous deadlines for digital migration. Many observers have argued that part of the reason for this is the policy uncertainty in this regard, as well as a fight over the multi-billion tenders related to the manufacturing of set-top boxes. This industry has resulted, therefore, in multiple court cases involving USASA, involving the private sector and the Ministry of Communications through the years. Now, my guest tonight is the CEO of USASA, Mr. Lumko Mtinde, who will help me understand what is really going on. Let's go talk frankly to him. What have you done since you occupied that office to try and move that mandate along?
JJ, USASA is the Universal Service and Access Agency, which is an agency, a state-owned entity established in terms of the Electronic Communications Act. And it's mandated to roll out ICT services, information, communication, and technology services to underserviced areas. And we do that through, among others, rolling out broadband infrastructure and connectivity, rolling out free Wi-Fi, in particular in schools and health centers. But we also, on the broadcasting front, we are mandated to produce, manufacture set-top boxes in order to enable the broadcasting digital migration project.
There was a big fight, I think in 2014 when the new administration came on board about who you should be reporting. You should be reporting under telecommunications. Should you be reporting to under communications, because the ministry was now divided into two. What was that about?
It was a confusion in terms of the separation of the two ministries, but it was settled, and accordingly USASA governance-wise reports to the Minister of Telecommunications and Postal Services. But with respect to the project of broadcast digital migration, which is a broadcasting project, we report the project is led politically by the Minister of Communications, but of course the governance of the entire entity, including that project, is the Minister of Telecommunications. There seems to
have been a lot of policy confusion that resulted in the decision of Cabinet to be changed midstream, the ANC saying one thing, Cabinet saying another, court cases. Can you clarify for me the whole confusion about encryption vis-a-vis non-encryption, and where that is sitting now, and how USASA was affected by that?
Okay, where it's sitting now, JJ, is there is certainty now, there is policy certainty.
Okay.
For years, there has been a difficult arising from the policy that was prescribed by the ministry that led to the industry fighting in respect of these two aspects, the encryption and non-encryption. Basically, simple meaning, the set-top boxes produced should be encrypted or not encrypted. As you know, even in terms of your own cell phone, if you can imagine if it's not encrypted, the kind of interference that you could experience. So that was the debate.
But why was it not obvious? Why did you have a situation where there was a tug of war between the Thuli House and Union Buildings on this matter?
In principle, the dispute arose between the established industry players who felt threatened by the introduction of a smart set-top box and argued that government, it's going to be costly for government and it's not necessary. And the
multi-choice, essentially, who are dominating the place, having 95% of market. They went to court to fight that.
Yes.
And the other
then
said
the free-to-air television, who saw this as an opportunity, in particular ETV,
to get into the market.
As an opportunity to get into the market and be able to grow in the market. Because if you look at a digital migration, it provides the opportunity of having multi-channel space,
absolutely,
of having high-definition television. So therefore, it is a good opportunity to grow free-to-air television.
Did MultiChoice try to lobby SASA to see it from their way, or you just went all to court and just fought it out there straight away?
This took place for a long period, JJ, and long before even I came. And indeed, it did affect USASA because USASA had to then develop specifications for the set-top boxes, and it needed to be guided by the policy. And there was the initial policy, which was then changed in 2015, and that clearly created problems for USASA. And obviously, every player was affected by this because it meant delays. So that process then went to different courts up to the Constitutional Court, and the Constitutional Court now has ruled on the matter. So this is now a matter of history and of record, and has provided certainty in respect of the minister is the policy maker and is therefore able to, after consultation, prescribe whatever policy. So now there is certainty. And we were able to continue the work.
After the break, I want to talk about this huge thing about the manufacturing of set-top boxes. Apparently, billions to be spent on this thing. It was a big process, over 20 companies apparently bidding. I want you to tell me how far that is and who is involved in getting that project going. We're going to take a break now. We're talking to USASA CEO, Lumkom Tinde, trying to make you understand what USASA is up to and what is happening there. Stay tuned.
Township under siege, roads blockaded, and the atmosphere here remains tense. Residents want their houses damaged by the storms repaired.
Raids are coming. Who's going to repair my furniture?
Police remain vigilant.
We may never have sufficient members, but the members that we have, we are comfortable with them. We are in a position to deal with the situation.
From us also as councillors, we lack information as it's not cascaded to us.
We are tired and we want people to take action. We want government to take action because women are being raped, women are being killed, women are being sexually and physically abused every day. Children are going missing.
See men at the forefront of this march is what softens the heart and makes us all feel proud of the type of men that we have in our country.
Here, the rates of violence against women and children are alarmingly high. Enough is enough.
Where am I going to sleep now? What about my kids?
There is bribe involved because we are not aware that they will come today.
People are being evicted about 2 months ago in May. We served the first court order. This is private property.
They came to us with a truck that has no water.
How do we build these shacks in a way that we don't have a fire spread when we have a fire incident?
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking. You can follow us on hashtag Frankly Speaking. You can also tweet us at JJ Tabani. You can also tweet us at SABC News Online. We're talking to the CEO of USASA tonight, Mr. Lumko Mtinde. Huge interest in this set-top boxes. I remember while working with the private sector, people even formed companies waiting for this because it took so long. Some of those companies even went down waiting to be part of this. What's going on now? Have you finished with the process of appointing who's going to do this? And what time frame do they have to roll this out to millions of South Africans?
JJ, that's a bulky question, but I'll try and summarize it, if you indulge me. The production of set-top boxes is an element in the entire project. The ecosystem involves a whole number of parties: Centec on the transmission side, Post Office on the distribution side, the Department of Communications, which is the lead and the principal in respect of this project, and on the content side, the free-to-air television like SABC and so forth, and ICASA from the regulatory point of view. ICASA, sorry. So USASA's mandate was then specific to manufacture the production of set-top boxes. Yeah. And the process took place. It is targeting 5 million households who are the needy households. And the initial rollout was for 1.5 million households, and 4 companies were appointed to produce these.
At what cost? What is the cost so far?
The cost so far is around 1.5 billion. This includes the installation, because a number of other companies were appointed for installation. But the difficulty became in respect of the processing of this. Beside the litigation that I referred to earlier, there was then the processing which led to, when I came in 2016, there was a whole lot of allegations of irregularities. And I had to subject the project to Auditor General to look into these alleged irregularities.
And what did you find?
Which found that indeed there were irregularities, and a Auditor General made recommendations of what to do. So in the main 2 actions, we had to subject some of the companies to the Competition Commission for possible anti-competitive behavior. And we also had to take the process to set aside the process, and we couldn't do it as the board, so we had to apply it to the High Court, which application then went and was heard by the High Court, and around March the High Court ruled on the matter.
March this year.
Yes.
So have you appointed now or not?
They were already appointed. They already produced. So a lot of work is being done in a number of provinces. We finished Northwest, Northern Cape, Northwest and Free State.
What kind of irregularities did you find? I mean, is this got to do with corruption and people interfering in the process? Can you summarize what kind of irregularities you found in that process?
In summary, it's non-compliance with the supply chain management processes.
By USASA?
By USASA, yes. And of course the Public Finance Management Act, but also then there was also non-compliance by the companies themselves in respect of the Competitions Act.
Yeah, that's scary when we're talking about 1.5 billion, and which is only a fraction of what's going to be spent.
Yes, because now
your entire board was fired last week, right? Why? And why did they want to fire you so quickly and so much? Please tell us.
Look, JJ, I didn't want to venture into this one because it did affect me. It's been a tough year. But this arose from disagreements around, in the main, the appointment of the company secretary.
Okay.
Wherein the board instructed me to appoint the company secretary at a level which was not the level advertised. Okay. And this was in a board meeting of October last year. And I went back and came back and appealed to the board to review the decision because I felt it was an unlawful instruction. And unfortunately, the board insisted and felt that I'm undermining the board. So then I had to implement I was given a direct instruction
direct
to implement.
Order, yes.
So I implemented the decision, but I reported the matter to the National Treasurer and Auditor General, who came back and confirmed that this decision flouts USASA policy, PFMA, Electronic Communications Act, and therefore...
You're saying this was the only thing that you clashed with the board on, or do you believe, rightfully or wrongfully, whether this was a proxy for something else? Because it sounds like a petty thing to the whole board and CEO not to be able to see eye to eye. If it's not advertised that way, it should be clear that you can't appoint it like that. And the board is assumably men and women of integrity by what? How many of them? 10, 12?
7, yes.
You know, who can see a simple thing? I'm maybe puzzled that that's the only reason why you had to be months away at home.
Look, JJ, I wouldn't want to venture into speculation. I would stick to facts.
Okay.
So that was in the main the factual dispute, which led to in January the minister calling us and in February meeting with us and saying we have to implement corrective actions. It is arising out of that intervention that then the board met and intended to suspend me, and suspended me in March, and around April gave me charges.
All right, I want to go into that before we get into the whole issue of digital migration. What do you think we should be doing? We're talking to the USASA CEO Lumko Mtinde. Stay tuned for the conversation to continue here straight hereafter.
Is he facing conspiracy? What is the nature of the corruption charges that he faces? But if it's a blatant kind of corruption case, he faces a potential 15 years in prison. And lest we forget, his father is in the dock in a few weeks' time, also facing corruption charges. So those parallels between father and son and the regime change in South Africa and what's happening with our courts at the moment will be something that is profoundly interesting, I think, to all South Africans.
We are losing the best of kids. People that are fathers or pastors that comes from a church.
No taxi, nothing. We were not notified. I get to town, there's nothing. I think
Minister, they don't care first about the backyarders, and then we are sick and tired, and we are fighting, multi-family issues. That's why we want to go and build our shacks so that we can live with our children.
Our province is on the move all the time. The more houses are delivered, the more people move into our province.
Isibuhlungu ngaphakathi ngikwasesenza intuthu njengaphakathi kwasempumelelo. Izindlu zethu enelempa angeke iziphele singakazitholi izindlu.
My opinion, Mr. Infantino and FIFA, everybody agreed that VAR is not going well. It's not going well, that's the reality. There's a lot of complaints. We just need to know who is refereeing the game. Who take decisions in the game. We have the right to know. The people have the right to know.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking with me on Khopotse, JJ Tabane. Tonight, USASA CEO Lumko Mtinde is my guest. I want us to just sort to finish this. The board in its statement, they issued a very detailed statement on Friday saying accusing you of all sorts of maladministration. What did they actually charge you with, and what's your response to their statement where they just basically say they don't understand why the minister is hurrying to reinstate you? It sounds all a bit cloaks and daggers, Lumko.
Look, JJ, I think where we are in law, I think the public protector report is very clear. But to summarize, they charged me. If you were to package those charges, you would say they charged me, among others, the appointment of the cabinet secretary.
Okay.
They charged me against saying there was a provision in the governance agreement between the board and the minister that I inserted, which it is factually not correct because the governance agreement is discussed by the two parties and it was signed by the chairperson. And they also implied that the broadband rollout project that we did in the Eastern Cape, we paid the service provider for non-completed job. But the facts are again to everyone's availability. We paid the service provider for the rollout of infrastructure which was completed, and we only could not pay the service provider for connectivity because you needed to sign off the different sites and then start connecting. So there was outstanding sites.
So all the charges basically, as far as you're concerned, frivolous, and you are ready to resume your work?
Yes, certainly. All the charges, there is facts that speaks to those, and they basically frivolous.
All the best with that. Now, the ministers of communications over the last few years have always had to postpone this thing of digital migration. And a lot of observers are saying it's because there's so much interest in this manufacturing of set-top boxes and so on, billions are at stake, etc. And each time there's a new administration, some new people want to come in and say, hey, where's our piece of the action and so on. You have been involved a long time in policy development and keeping an eye on this whole communication landscape from the ANC side and now from the side of governance. What's your assessment of why countries like Kenya, Rwanda, and so on are ahead? They've already switched to digital migration, and this big economy of the continent is still lagging behind.
Like I said earlier, the biggest delay was largely because of the interest in the industry itself. That took years. Now there is policy certainty and there is new dawn now. There is commitment to doing things right. And I think the two ministers have provided direction in terms of what needs to be done going forward. Yes, of course, there is a challenge of the availability of funds because technology is moving. Set-top box is supposed to be a transition. Currently, me and you have integrated digital television sets, which do have all the features thereof, and therefore can go digital. But it's more expensive than the set-top boxes. But also the approach of rollout was also a challenge because for some time we then were going piecemeal in different provinces. But now the approach with respect to the current leadership is clearly to finish a province, switch off, go to another province and switch off. And there's a team that's advising the minister. So I think...
Are you happy with that kind of progress? I mean, are we going to have another postponement in your view of the total switchover?
I don't foresee us getting there, more so if we were to be able to finalize the funding questions. But also part of the strategy should be to look at the other households, the me and you, because for us to go digital, the focus should not just be on the 5 million subsidized households. We need to get every household to get the sets that will enable us to switch off for digital. And perhaps that, with economies of scale, would possibly lower the prices for the 5 million subsidized, and therefore the money could be lower than it is currently projected, which could enable us to roll out this faster. But I think with the current drive and the leadership of Minister Mukonyane and Minister Kwele, we should be able to move if there would be challenges, it should be challenges that are reasonable.
Last week, big news that a new entrant into the television space, although it's still at the mercy of DSTV. What's your perspective about that development?
It's JJ. I think it's said that we had to have a situation where one channel was closed down, which was providing an alternative voice. Forget about whether you agree or not agree with it, but the fact of the matter is, for media diversity, you need diverse voices.
You could have added instead of subtracting one.
Yes, certainly. Yeah. But if ICASA, of course, which is the regulator, has authorized this, we should allow them to take off and support them, and hopefully it will be.
You think there must be more free-to-air channels opened, given the digital migration?
Obviously, digital migration gives space for more channels, and SABC itself can have
more
almost 18 channels.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there, unfortunately. But Dungo, all the best at USASA, and as you continue with your work.
Thank you very much.
Hope that sheds some light on the issues digital migration. But until we talk frankly again, I papa.